From TPN at technophilespodcast.com, I'm David Geisler, and this is the Technophiles Podcast.
This story kind of reminds me of back in the day when they were talking about what we could do. And it seems like we've reached that point now.
This episode, the cast talks about the story of a 1-year-old girl who was saved from leukemia through gene editing. After the break, Krista-Lee finds a story about spooky action. Don't run with your molecular scissors, because this is the Technophiles 279th episode. Hey everybody, welcome to tonight's show. I'm here with the regular cast, Vee Laabs, Krista-Lee Malone, and Tony Stiglich. Tony, how are you doing, sir?
I am doing well.
I'm glad to hear it.
Yeah, no, it's been nice. I brewed beer that I'm tending to.
You are right. I saw something on your Facebook page. There was something, if I'm paraphrasing, but you basically said brewing beer in your apartment is basically telling people that you want your life to smell like a brewery for 3 weeks or something like that.
Oh yeah, I live in a studio apartment, and I have a very small sink, so anyone who brews at home and is listening knows the challenges that I went through to do it. But it also really, you have one room, so it just smells like a brewery for like 3 days.
Oh, no.
Oh, 3 days. Okay.
It's kind of nice, though.
I don't know. Yeah, that might be a good thing.
I mean,
That's a smell you like.
If you like...
Do we get to try your beer?
Yeah. It is a
exciting.
spiced winter ale.
Ooh, I like those.
Good.
It smells spectacular in its wort form.
How
I
much
can't say
do
for
you
beer
think
yet.
you have? Is this something that we could have at our little end of the
I'll bring
season
some
party
over,
or something?
yeah.
That'd be cool.
Guys,
I'd love
this
to
is our
sample it.
last episode in this studio for this season right now.
Oh, that's true.
That's right, yeah.
We have one more episode for season 7. It's going to be our live show at UWM with Stuart Mouthrop, and that's next week. Mm-hmm. That'll be our season finale, and then we're off for about a month or two, basically for the holidays, and we come back with season 8.
Yep.
Slightly new format. I'm super excited, but for now, this is it. Oh man.
The answer is about 35 bottles, by the way.
35 bottles?
Roughly.
Wow.
Oh, you got to bring it to
I
our
will.
end of the
Please
season party
do.
then.
I will.
A couple weeks we're having a little end of the season party because we're not going to see each other for a while, and maybe we'll shoot a little Tumblr video or something of us tasting it. We're like, delicious.
Hopefully. We'll see how it turns out.
No, very exciting. Cool.
Yeah.
Is this the first time you ever brewed before?
No,
Okay.
I am a sort of regular home brewer.
I did not know this.
I haven't
This is very exciting.
I haven't for a while because I didn't think I had the space for it.
Sure.
And I was right, but I can sort of get over that.
Just make it
That
work.
was right, but it's worth it.
Yeah.
Exciting. Krista-Lee, Vee, how are you two doing?
Good.
Good.
Very good.
Nothing
All right, so
unusual to
tonight
report.
we're going to be talking. I'm joking.
Nothing to report, David.
Cool. Well, let's. We got a few things we're talking about tonight. For starters, I kind of found this crazy story on newscientist.com about a little girl that is most likely cured from leukemia with this really intense medical procedure that happened, borderline experimental. And then I'm pulling up my notes here. I can't get them up in time. Krista-Lee, I know you're the second story. What are you talking about tonight?
Talking about the spooky action of quantum mechanics.
That's right. I remember now. I remember. So we're going to talk all about quantum mechanics after the break. But for now, if I may, now this is, I was looking for articles, earlier, and I came across this article and I loved it, but I was kind of like, man, it's a little over my head, but I want to talk about it because if I can try to, in layman's terms, talk about what happened here, I'd love to share it with you guys and our audience.
Yeah.
I think it's really, really cool. I was looking for other articles. I found something about an app. I found something about a Kickstarter, whatever. Mm-hmm. That's all great, but like little girl getting saved from leukemia in a super awesome way, I just wanted to talk about it.
Yeah.
And let's do it. Okay, so again, I found this article on newscientist.com, and it was written by, I hope it says, by Michael LePage. And so anyway, so there's this little girl named Layla, and when she was 1 year old, she was diagnosed with, let me pull my notes up here. I took notes because I knew this was going to be a little hard for me to talk about. She was diagnosed with acute lymphoblastic leukemia. And so, she's 1 year old. They start to do all the natural things that you do when you're fighting cancer in a patient. They start with chemotherapy on her, stuff like that. It doesn't really work too well. She's super young. By the way, she's 3 years old right now, just to kind of jump ahead a little bit just to
Yeah.
give us some perspective.
Yeah.
So this is a couple years ago. They try the chemotherapy. It's not really working on her. They even do a bone marrow transplant, which is still kind of common in cancer patients if you have to go to the next level.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I really want to point this out real quick. There was a season or two ago, back in the, we just got done saying this is end of season 7. A few seasons ago, it seemed like every 2 or 3 months we'd get like another cancer technology story on the show. And we haven't had one for a while. We had stuff about little radioactive nanobots that would go into your bloodstream. Tony, you might have been here for
I
that.
was on that show.
Yeah,
I think
yeah,
that was to
very
detect
interesting.
it, maybe.
What's that?
It wasn't. That was like a cancer detection.
Well, maybe you were on for one where there was like literally your toilets testing you for cancer.
Oh.
I'm serious, we had one of those.
I remember that one.
There was a lot of stuff.
I remember the smart skin Google had.
The smart skin, yes, that's right. That's another one we talked
Yeah.
about. So anyway, this is a situation. So it's weird to say that it's fun. Well, it is. No, it is fun to talk about cancer, the technological developments in cancer treatment, or any disease really. But cancer is such a weird thing because it's not a virus. It's not actually a sickness. It's like it's a physical thing that's happening to you.
Yeah, it's like
you
a
know what I
weird
mean?
genetic, like the process isn't working right and it's fighting you.
Exactly. So anyway, apparently, if I understand this correctly, the bone marrow transplant didn't work either. This little girl's days were essentially numbered at this point. They didn't know what else they were going to do. Her parents said, I obviously am paraphrasing here, but apparently her parents said, well, we'll try anything at this point. She's a little girl that, you know what I mean? Like, we have nothing to lose. Let's try. And they got in touch with, what's his name here now? Oh, I don't have it in my notes. Oh, Wasim Quasim of the University College London. And, wait, no, I'm saying this all wrong. I think I got my notes wrong. I think it was Ormond Street Hospital. No. It was University College London. Sorry, guys.
Okay, that's all right.
Anyway, I'm trying to get my facts right, but I'm just excited about this story. They get in touch with this other experimental group, and what the group does is they take what they've done in the past is they have a slight technology where they can take someone's T cells, genetically modify them, take them, rebuild them, and teach those T cells to go back into the person's immune system, target only cancerous cells, and basically just do their normal, natural thing, all things considered, only where the cancer is. Okay?
Wow.
This is a technology that they've been doing it. They originally did this a few years ago on HIV patients. And that's more of like a virus situation.
Yeah.
Where they were able to take the T cells, genetically engineer them to only attack the HIV, and this was working. But that was people who their death is not immediate or anything like that.
Yeah.
And they tried it apparently, I think, on another cancer patient that was a little bit older, or at least that was the plan. The plan for this T cell genetic manipulation thing was always, when it was done in the labs, it was more about, well, let me put it this way. This poor little girl was so young and so sick that she didn't have enough T cells in the first place.
Whoa.
So they couldn't even take enough out of her to genetically modify them, or not modify, engineer them, and put them back into her system. So then they got this idea where they were able to take T cells from... So when you're just genetically engineering something that's the own person's makeup, you're really just tweaking. You know what I mean? They figured out a way to take T cells from other, I guess we could say, donors, completely engineer them so that they would work inside this little girl's body and attack just the immune system, which means at this point, this is almost, as this article says, quote, almost off the shelf, quote unquote, genetic engineering, genetic manipulation for these T cells. They've been able to make these things completely, I guess, generic, you could say. So they were able to. They were.
So they were like compatible with anybody.
They're theoretically compatible with anybody. But for this little girl, what happened was, because they couldn't take anything out of her, they were able to take some out of someone else, manipulate them, put them into her, and it is completely working right now. Now she's 3 years old, and the cancer is in remission or gone, or the leukemia, I should say more specifically. They do admit that they don't know if she's totally cured. It's going to take a couple years to really know that. It could come back and all of that, but it is totally working.
Did they mention needing to match, I'm thinking, blood type or anything else in order to donate?
I don't know. No, I didn't find anything like that. But I think the impression I got from this article as I was reading it was, and I invite our listeners to find out more about this. Like I said, I found this on newscientist.com, and I'm fully admitting that this is a little bit over my head, a little over my skill set. I don't know much in this area, but they were able to basically make a completely generic T cell, which then worked in this girl.
Wow.
I don't know if this relates to your question because the medical stuff also tends to go over my head, but they do mention specifically that they modified it in such a way so her antibodies wouldn't attack it.
Yes, that's true.
And I don't know if that's also tied in with like, do you have to match blood type because the antibodies go after it?
Yeah, it was that they oh, right, because so the big thing is when you're doing this T cell manipulation anyway, if you're taking someone's own, manipulating and putting them back, the immune system doesn't attack them. It knows, it's saying, oh cool, yeah, you're part of me, right? Yeah. You take someone else's and put them in, you have to shape them another way so that the immune system doesn't shape them, abstractly thinking, so that the immune system does not recognize them as a threat, and then also those same T cells only attack the cancer cells, if I understand this correctly.
Yeah. It says here that for leukemia patients, having the T cells marked as foreign and getting attacked from like the donor T cells, like being seen as threats and being destroyed, it wasn't really a problem because the drugs that they take for leukemia makes it so that, oh my gosh, I just had this in my head.
I know, and I wasn't making eye contact with you. I'm sorry.
Oh my god. The antibody destroys the donor T cells, but they disabled that gene in the T cells that made them invisible to the antibodies.
Yes.
Yeah. Or they disabled the gene, which made them invisible. I'm like remembering all of high school biology right now.
I was going to say, unfortunately, bio is a huge blind spot for me.
No, it is. I mean, honestly, it is for me as well, but I just got so excited, and I just thought I wanted to share it. And even if this is we've actually been talking about it for a while. I rambled there for a bit, and I think I spit out the basic structure of what happened here. Very exciting.
Well, because it sounds like you're wrapping up. I just wanted to say something.
Well, I mean, I don't have much more to say.
Right. Well, the one thing I wanted to say is, I vaguely remember taking health classes before we had a lot of technology to deal with DNA. But this story kind of reminds me of back in the day when they were talking about what we could do.
Yeah.
And it seems like we've reached that point now where when I was a kid and they were saying, well, someday with this DNA technology, or not technology, right? But with this information about DNA, we'll be able to cure cancer and this and that. And this seems like this is one of those the future has arrived stories, right? Like this is what I was told we were going to be able to do when I was
in some ways, this 10. I might be saying this might be too extreme, but to me it feels like that these T cells are being engineered almost ground up. They're in complete control. It's not just chemical medicine it's chemicals because that's how they're technically manipulating them. But you know what I mean. It's just what you're saying. We're starting to be able to build parts that deal with these illnesses and these situations
that are still basic parts of human bodies. They're just
I really wish I feel like if Drew Nowakowski, who was on the show a couple seasons ago, if he was here right now, and if I would have had even some in hindsight, it would have been cool to have him Skype in for this. Maybe I should have even saved it a week, but whatever. I just wanted to share it, and I think it's totally cool. And again, it's on the newscientist.com. And if anybody wants to go take a look at it, please do. And seriously, tweet to us your thoughts, Technophiles Pod, or even me personally at Raptor Paint. And I would love to learn more about this. It just seemed very exciting. It seemed, Krista-Lee, you said it exactly right. Like, it really feels like this line is getting full on crossed at this point.
Yeah, they're starting clinical trials in 2016 in the UK with this whole process to see how far they can go with it and what else they can help fix, cure, treat, whatever with it.
Yeah, it's cool. It's like the world's tiniest little scalpel, and you know what I mean? It's just blows my mind.
Yeah. It's all personalized.
Yeah, exactly. Well, on that note, I think we'll get out of here, and we're going to come back and let's talk all about quantum physics. Yes, Krista-Lee?
Yeah.
This I can do a little better with.
Hey everybody, David Geisler here, co-host of Branching Dialogue. I am with my co-host, Mr. Tony Rome. Tony, why don't you tell people a little bit about this show we're doing?
So it's called Branching Dialogue. comes out every Thursday, and we like to talk about video games, topics in video games, a little bit about our favorite video games.
Yeah, there's a little bit of a reminiscent factor. I kind of
Yeah.
like it. Sometimes we look back. And people can find it on Facebook and iTunes and YouTube by searching Branching Dialogue.
We're also on Twitter at Branch Dialogue.
Fantastic. There it is. Tony, I'll see you on Thursday.
I'm there.
Okay, we are back from our break, and Krista-Lee, indulge us.
All right. So this is not actually totally new. Like, I know a lot of the things we bring in are super new, but this is a further study that suggests that what Einstein called spooky action is actually real. So this was done by the Delft University of Technology. Not sure if I'm pronouncing it correctly, in the Netherlands.
I'd say Delft.
I believe that's
Sure.
that's how I've always heard it. Yeah.
All right, great.
Yeah, like me too. Yeah, that's how I was. Yeah.
Okay,
There's a big
Yeah,
chemistry
no.
program there.
Oh,
That's cool,
okay,
that's cool.
okay,
Yeah.
okay. I was gonna say like, yeah.
No, I
you
wasn't
talk
trying to
about
be
all
like.
this
Ooh,
No, it's cool.
Yeah, it was
It's
just
great.
No, but okay. So starting at the beginning, because this is, it's quantum physics, so it's out there. So Einstein called this idea spooky action because there was this idea in physics known as locality. And this makes sense if you think about physics on a macro scale, right? Something can only be affected by things that are directly near it, right?
Sure.
So think about, it's like if I have this cup on the table, my hands are near it, I can knock it over, the light's near it, I can warm it up, whatever, right?
Yep.
This really silly example, but
Oh,
that's
actually,
the idea.
that was a pretty fair example.
Yeah,
So-
I like
oh.
examples.
Thank you. So in quantum mechanics, then, or quantum physics, if that applied, right, then if you have an atom, a particle, whatever, then the only thing that would be able to affect it would be the things that are right directly nearby. But tests over and over again and experiments over and over again have shown that this is not true.
Right.
That for reasons that are semi-understood by even the experts,
And semi-observed.
and
Yeah.
semi-observed, right? Because actually, we've talked about this on the show before since I've been here with the double slit experiment. I know
Yep.
came up once, and then the CERN the CERN thing. What is it? A reactor, whatever.
The
it's a collider.
The collider,
yeah.
that's what it was. Thank you. With the CERN collider, also,
I prefer a certain thing.
where you can have, this atom over here, and then at this very large distance, if you affect this one, then this one gets affected. And then with the double slit experiment, that once you observe it, you actually have an effect on it, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's all related to this idea. And, Einstein, and I was trying to remember the exact quote when I was talking to David earlier. But in some way in this quote that I can't remember, Einstein said, well, this can't be true, basically, because it would require some kind of spooky action.
Yeah, I do
Yeah.
think that's in a quote.
It is.
No, I'm serious. I remember, you
Right,
hear
no,
about
it
from time
is.
to
Like, I
time.
remember that. I remember
Spooky
just
action.
the spooky action.
Right.
I remember that part of the quote because ever since then, people keep using it, right? It's even, in the title of this article that I brought up where it says, sorry, Einstein, quantum study suggests spooky action is real. Like, Einstein coined that term, and physicists have been running with it ever since.
That's fine.
But, I mean, actually, I would say it's a good description, right? Because you...
what causes it? A ghost?
Right. Well, and that's just it. So we have these experiments, and this is just another one where, let's see, they, what was it? It was something with a diamond, this particular experiment. Yes, so in which two diamonds were set over a kilometer apart, entangled, they shared information, and then realized that when they... Right, so they were together first, and then they were put over a kilometer apart, and then you had effects despite the fact that they were so far away, basically, on the micro quantum level.
I believe it was electron spin, right?
I think so.
Yeah.
So...
An electron can exist in two different states that you would call spin. It's either up or down.
Which is how quantum computers work.
Right. And so if you flip it or switch one, it would do that same for the other. Sorry, just want to be...
Yeah, I love it.
So what... Can you explain the diamond thing a little more? I feel like...
Probably not. Honestly. Do you have a specific question? I might try to give you some more information, but I don't.
So the diamonds, two diamonds together, and then they're put apart, and then something happens that says spooky actions are happening.
Well, so basically, the way most of these experiments work, and as far as I know, I don't think it's always done with diamonds. Like, this isn't specific to diamonds.
Yeah.
But they'll take one that's over here, and the scientists will they'll do something to it to change the electron spin. And then the other one that's being observed will have the same effect.
Whoa.
Yeah, so you bring them together, make them quantumly entangled.
Yes.
And then theoretically you can move them the distance of the universe away. And if you change one, the other will instantly also change if they are quantumly entangled.
They just want to be twins. They want to match.
Well, they are.
Once they get synced up, you could think.
Yep.
How do you quantumly entangle things? This isn't like putting something in your pocket and it gets mixed up. Like your headphones.
It's what is it? Microwaves, and it says laser energy. I don't actually know the mechanic behind it.
But it's something with the atoms and the...
Yeah, you blast them with science rays.
Yeah, and then science happens.
Right.
And then spooky action.
Right.
Right.
So this is actually... The reason I'm familiar with this originally is because this is one of the ways in which people postulate that teleportation would work. So essentially, instead of, if you think of in Star Trek, instead of physically moving Kirk from the ship to the planet's surface, what you're essentially doing is making an exact copy down to the molecular level on the surface of the atoms that are there, and then essentially destroying what was his being before.
It's a cut and paste, not a. It's not
a Control C, Control V. It's a Control X and Control V.
Yeah, perhaps actually.
Yeah. So
that's
wow.
And one of the big questions is, okay, even if you're exactly recreating, what does that? I mean, what does that mean for the quote unquote soul or
even
whatever?
The concept of
consciousness, right? So
some say that if you accept that consciousness is part of biology and that your brain would be exactly the same, that illusion of consciousness, if you want to go that extreme, or that way that we calculate it, would still maintain. That's some offer that obviously memories would still maintain and all that kind of stuff. If you're going down, if you're accepting that's all biological.
Yeah, I feel like I've read like a sci-fi story that kind of deals with that. The teleportation machine, the Prestige. Okay.
Well, the movie The Prestige has fun with that idea.
I actually haven't seen that movie all the way through.
Spoilers for like a 10-year-old movie.
Okay. Well, oops. Oh well.
Sort of.
I'm not too broken up, but no, I feel like there was like this like sci-fi kind of almost like a parable or like.
It wasn't The Fly, was it?
No, it wasn't like an actual movie.
Okay.
It was like a storybook story almost.
Oh, sure.
I don't know. It's eluding me right now. I can see it like illustrated in my brain in like black and white, but like the teleportation machine where it kills one man and then just clones him in another machine. Ta-da! Teleportation.
Actually, I wonder if that would then be the book that The Prestige was based off of, because that's pretty much the same thing. And actually, so one of the ethical questions there then, right? Like you are killing the original.
Yeah.
It's all definitions at that point, because we've never had to deal with this idea before.
Right.
Like, you may not be. What is... I mean...
What is... How legitimate are you if you're an exact copy?
And it would be exact. I mean,
it would,
with this quantum entanglement, down to every atom would still be you.
It's not even, that is to say, and I emphasize atom, not
just like
cells,
clean,
right? Not molecules, not
package.
everything.
Yeah. Now, these guys, they do admit that there's kind of a loophole to this experiment. It's something that you've kind of brought up before, Krista-Lee, and that is the idea that some of the some of the math that they use to create their random values might actually feel random, but are still actually being predicted or are not random. They are static. In fact, I want to offer something to that point. There was I was listening to a podcast where they were talking about a guy who I think was working on artificial intelligence or something, programmers on a podcast, and they were talking about when you create I know what it was. A little bit like No Man's Sky and a little bit like anything that's procedurally generated, you always have to start with a random seed number to get your math rolling.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And you can't computers can't truly randomize, can't truly create a random number. It's just not how it works. Mm-hmm. In the universe of a computer, nothing is random. Right. They'll make things feel random about, I know what it was. Guys, I know what it was. I was listening to the Edward Snowden interview with Neil deGrasse Tyson. It was actually after our Edward Snowden episode. Mm-hmm. I went over onto Star Talk, which I listened to casually and often, but I hadn't listened to those episodes yet. It was two of them, and Edward Snowden was talking about this, and he was talking about when you're doing encryption, and you need to start with a random seed number to create to roll out your procedural encryption, whatever. Yeah. Nothing truly is random in computer code, and so what they'll do is a lot of times video games will just use like the computer's internal clock to be its seed. That number will never be the same, and if you're just generating a world or a virtual world, doesn't matter too much. But that can be predicted with encryption. So they would do things like they would generate a number. They would try to do they would try to create ways to create these random numbers outside of the computer universe. So they might record the movements of your mouse for a millisecond, and how much X and Y was there would then create a random number, because that's being created literally outside of the universe / math of the computer system.
Yeah. Right.
One of the things that Einstein got kind of excited about is that, maybe similar to how numbers cannot be random inside computer code, the computer code of our universe, those numbers cannot be randomized either. And that's what they are a little bit worried about in this experiment. Mm-hmm. Is that there's a possibility that these numbers aren't random anyway.
Right. So, get this. And I'm not going to be able to explain this very much, but
give it a shot.
Recognizing that weakness, the National Science Foundation has financed a group who will attempt to ensure independence of the measurement by gathering light from distant objects from different sides of the galaxy, and then going to a known object such as a quasar near the edge of the universe in 2017 and 2018.
Sure, but I suggest that all of this is still physics and math that are happening inside our universe. And honestly, we can't... The way that we can sit here and use a computer code as an example, mouse input is outside of the mathematical universe of the computer. Yeah. We don't have that in our existence
yet. The atomic universe is everything.
You know what I mean? Yeah. And so it gets tricky. All of these numbers are still happening in this universe.
It's not a closed experiment.
It's not, but then this depends, because what you're saying, which could be the reality, but that's just one possibility. You're saying that the universe is like a computer, and so nothing can be random, but then we are assuming that metaphor is apt. Which it may or may not be.
What I'm really circling around here is, I personally think that Einstein's idea of a spooky object or spooky activity is the mouse movement to the encryption. It is, I think, structurally exactly supernatural. If that were to be, if Einstein said all of this makes sense, and if there's going to be some kind of randomization coming from outside of our existence or our universe, it's quote unquote spooky, hence not of our universe, just like the mouse input numbers are not of the computer universe. Yeah. So I think Einstein's exactly on point, is what I'm trying to, at least his idea, it wasn't, I don't think that's just a throwaway statement. See where I'm going with this?
I do. And then that...
It is a supernatural input.
But it's not necessary.
I might take task with that, I guess.
Okay, let's talk about it.
Go for it.
So I mean, I think by what he's saying by spooky action is more that we don't understand it.
Right, yeah.
Not necessarily that it's supernatural.
I shouldn't say supernatural. I shouldn't say spiritual. I shouldn't say supernatural. Nothing like that. But outside of the math that's happening in our physics.
As it's currently understood.
Exactly.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just like the
which isn't to say that there's not an explanation for it or that it is supernatural.
Right. But to the computer, when the computer uses mouse movements or something to generate a number, and the computer doesn't know why the mouse is moving up or down, that there's a human hand moving it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Is the computer in this scenario our understanding of physics, our current understanding?
I'm trying to connect what Edward Snowden said about creating random numbers for encryption.
Yeah, I'm just getting tangled up in the metaphor, I guess.
Yeah.
Our universe being the computer code.
Yeah.
So
our current
what is
understanding
the mouse that could the way that they solved it with encryption was they took an outside source, not part of that universe. The way we could solve, if we're doubting that our numbers are truly random in this experiment, if humans are doubting those numbers are truly random and part of the math of the universe, they need an outside source. But we can't see outside of that source yet, just like the computer can't see outside of the mouse you can't see the hand moving the mouse. Right. But I might be getting a little too broad here. I don't know.
But there could be theories that could account for making that happen, right? Because there are theories of multiple universes. And so if you wanted to take that metaphor, then not now, but maybe there could be a point where we not only prove that there's multiple universes, but that we could tap into them, and then maybe that could be your mouse.
Right. Yeah. And in that example, the computer becomes aware of the human that's moving the mouse.
But again, that's
sorry, I'm still not connecting everything to the metaphor.
I don't know.
I'm glad you guys know what you're.
You hit multiple universes, and my brain just kind of went.
Well, I think that's why a lot of times I'm a huge fan of quantum mechanics or quantum physics, and I think a lot of times the reason we end up coming up with these like 5 or 6 different ideas of different multiple universes or different existences is because there's so much that we can't. We have to have. I'm not trying to be tongue in cheek here. We have to have the spooky action. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because I don't know.
Well, spooky action is just what we can't explain yet.
Right.
So,
so we have to say like
that's always going to be the case.
Yeah.
Right.
Maybe.
And then the idea is to figure out what that action actually is with our understanding and bring it together.
Yes.
Yes.
Well, and a lot of this has to do with not only spooky action, but also the fact that they, physicists figure out mathematically, right? And then they go back and say, well, according to the math, X must be true. And then they go look for it also. So you have this you could take that metaphor and be like, you have this spooky math that says there should be a ghost over there. So and obviously that's not the wording, right?
No, I know
but then they
what you
go
mean.
after it. This actually reminds me of the first newscast I did, because they did the whole creating matter with energy, because they have the math first, which actually also came back to Einstein, because it was the very simple E equals mc squared. We've always been able to take mass and create energy, and then they're taking this technology to go back the other way. Well, we've had the math for a few decades that told us that in theory this should be possible.
Yeah.
I mean, Einstein's old.
I'm trying to remember when that paper was published, but yeah, I get what you're saying. It's been a long time.
Right. I mean, my brain is, I shouldn't say my brain because I don't know for sure. My heart is telling me that it thinks it was in the 50s, but I'm not sure.
Ooh, it would have had to have been before that, because
Really?
That's what we based the nuclear bomb on, Manhattan projects. So that would have been the
maybe
40s.
40s?
I'm thinking it was the 20s, but I'm double checking right now.
Do it.
Oh, that's a good point. I didn't even think of that with the nuclear bombs. So it probably... Well, anyways, regardless of when it was, a long time ago. So we've had this math for a long time, and now the technology catches up.
We were both wrong. 1905.
Whoa!
Whoa!
Nice.
He came up with that really early in his career.
He might have still been a patent clerk at the time. I don't know.
Anyway,
I'm getting all my Einstein's dates mixed up, I guess.
Anyways, that's not even the important part. Tying it back in, part of Einstein saying it was spooky action is because he wasn't really accepting this idea yet.
Okay.
Right, because it was just like many other things presented as an idea before there was any experimental evidence for anything, which is how, at least according to my history of physics book, how a lot of stuff happens.
There you go.
Yeah.
So what's the takeaway here? Oh wait, what'd you find, Tony?
Oh no, nothing. What I was going to say is, if this is, if we are being slightly opaque in our explanations, as may be the case, as I will usually point people towards, Minute Physics has a great episode on quantum teleportation. So check that out. It will help.
They have like a solid 5 or 6 on quantum mechanics that are wonderful.
Yeah, that'll lead you to other ones for sure, but this one specifically,
yeah, absolutely.
I think the takeaway here is that if you really want to work on something cool and potentially make millions with a patent, you should study quantum physics and make me a teleporter.
Personal agenda. That's what this whole thing comes down to.
You'd have to be an engineer, I think. I don't think you can patent a scientific idea, but I get what you're saying.
True. Well, I guess I was figuring that you would need the idea in order to get the engineering to work. Maybe you need an engineering physicist team.
There you go.
Yeah, there you go.
Perfect.
How hard could that be to find?
So this team working on this, they did have a breakthrough though, right? Or something? Like, why was there an article written on this group?
Well, they were furthering along the process of proving this. Got what I would say, right? Cool. So, and that's why when I started, I kind of said this isn't new in the sense of a lot of our stories are new.
Okay.
This would be more like a new development in a story that's actually been going on for some time. But, you know, the really, really cool deep science stuff takes a long time.
Yeah.
So this is just
a lot to sort through.
Little, hey, let's update.
That's cool.
Quantum update.
Yeah, quantum update. There you go.
Easy quantum update from TPN.
Hey guys, just want to let you know, more stuff's happening. That's about all we got.
Quantum physics sure are a thing still.
This just in, things continue.
I love it. All right, well, this is this is an interesting episode tonight. A lot of us talking about things that were a little bit beyond us, but it was still a nice conversation. And whenever we do have an episode like this, which we have once in a great while, I always like to encourage our listeners to chime in, because this is definitely a conversation episode tonight, not so much of a reporting episode on both of our stories. And so if anyone has thoughts about what's going on with these genetically engineered T cells, and everyone has thoughts about the continuation of quantum studies, please tweet us at Technophiles Pod. And I'm serious. I would love to keep these dialogues going. And if anyone finds other articles they'd like us to talk about, that would be really exciting as well. People can also, if they find a lot, they actually honestly are welcome to email us at technophilespodcast@gmail.com if they have lengthy things to say. TechnophileSpod on Twitter or technophilespodcast@gmail.com on email. I'd love to hear about it. I'd love to learn more about it. So guys, I'll see you in a couple days at UWM for our live show, the season finale of season 7, meeting with Stuart Malthrop, talking about it's so weird. We had our meeting with him last week, and we thought we were going to talk about one thing, and Krista-Lee and Stuart and I ended up talking about so many things that we were like, oh my gosh, we want to talk about all of this, but now how do we
bring it back,
focus it?
Yeah.
So we're still working on that, but it's going to be a great conversation. And Tony and Vee, I can't wait, because it's going to be the 3 of us sitting up there at the desk.
What?
With Stuart. He's a great guy, and he loves to talk about things, and it's going to be, I'm really looking forward to it. So I'm looking forward to see you guys there in a little bit, and hopefully any one of our listeners who are in Milwaukee, they can, Krista-Lee, let's give them some info about it real quick. They can go to UWM on
November 18th we're going to start filming at 6:30. Doors open at 6. It is on the 2nd floor of the UWM Golda Meir Library. If you go in the west side, follow the signs. We will post them. It is in the Digital Humanities Lab.
Fantastic.
Free and open to the public, by the way, since
That's
a couple people did ask me how much tickets were.
Totally free. We just come have a conversation.
Yes,
That's what
tickets.
we like. That's what we like. We always have a little third. We have we do 2 halves on our normal episodes, but anyone who's looked at some of our live shows already has noticed that we also do audience feedback and questions and things like that. So that's going to be a great way to end season 7. Here we are. I won't see you guys here now, well, in this capacity for a couple months. Look forward to it, though. Look forward to coming back season 8. And In the meantime, people can find us on Facebook, iTunes, and YouTube by searching Technophiles Podcast, or go to our actual website, technophilespodcast.com. Whew. Okay, guys. This is one of those episodes where you end the episode with more questions than answers, and I've got a lot of questions in my head right now, but that's okay.
Yeah.
I'm for it. Time well spent. Until next week, people can tweet me on Twitter at RaptorPaint. Have a good night, everyone.